Hi there, a very good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending on wherever you're hearing me and watching me. This is Simply Stocks, and I'm live in this live session with you all. And today I want to talk to you about a very interesting topic, and this is with relation to how to average your positions. Whenever you are in loss or profits, how to go about averaging, because there is a lot of confusion with regard to when to average, how much to average, etc. And also I'll answer your queries, etc. So hope your investment and trading journey is going well. Let more people join in. Mohammad Ismail, walaikum salam. Hope you're doing well. Ganesh, hello, a very good afternoon to you. uh, and so we'll discuss that, plus we'll discuss about the market. So as expected, and as I was stating over the last 1 month or so, that in August we could see some sort of decline. I'm not saying a complete sell off, but some sort of decline. Maybe this is just the beginning of the same, and that is exactly what is going on at the moment. So what we are witnessing right now is just a correction. So the markets went up from 15,000 and now is correcting. So we'll discuss about the markets as well. Uh, just on the lighter note, just to talk about sports, which I have been following for the past few weeks. So in Commonwealth Games, we are doing reasonably well. It is a shame that shooting and archery are not part of the games, and so we are missing out on at least a couple of dozen medals which could have come in. So this time around expectations are for lesser number of medals, and we are doing well in all sorts of sports, especially in lawn bowls. The way the women have performed, the way in individual, you can say competition, Indian lawn bowlers are performing. It looks really good, and this looks a very good prospect. Say 10 years down the line, we may see champions emerging from here as well, although it is not an Olympic sport. So overall performance is good. In athletics, we won a medal in the high jump yesterday evening, late evening, and so uh, hopefully we'll get more medals. Even though there is no Neeraj Chopra, we should get more medals out of athletics. And then we have wrestling that is coming up. We have in hockey, and it is really heartening to see the way the Indian men's hockey team is performing. Uh, we are seeing that 8-0 against Canada. I remember India losing to Canada in 98. India not doing well against Canada in 94. You could say the World Cups. And Canada has been a real thorn in our flesh. And the way we beat them, the way we scored the goals, and we were on top on all the moments, it was pretty good. 8-0 and 11-0 against Ghana. And then we could have won against England, but it was just because of two yellow cards, probably. We could not. So, semi-final against probably New Zealand, and hopefully a final again with Australia. That will be interesting to see, because this time around, I believe, compared to 2010 in Delhi, when we reached the final in the Commonwealth Games against Australia, this time around it's totally different. We lost 8-1, I think, that time, or 8-1 or 8-2. But hopefully this time we could give a good fight and maybe even win against Australia in the final. So a lot of things to look forward to. So really, uh, it's time for sports. I mean, for we as investors, it's better to spend time somewhere else rather than taking headaches on our positions, which we have made, the positions that we have already made. So that is what I do on free time. Probably look at stocks, companies, and then if I want to relax, I watch sports, go around and walk, etc. Probably I'll suggest the same, that do exercises and watch something light that you like, because the market will test you even further in this year. It has been 6 7 months, probably next 2 months could be bad. So uh, let's talk about the markets first. I believe that the markets are doing what we have always envisaged and we have thought about. So market is showing the tunes uh, as expected. So the move that took place was from 15,000 all the way to 17,000, let's say 17,400 odd. So it was a good 15% rally on the Nifty. a good 30 to 40% rally, in some stocks 50 to 60% rally over the last 1.5 months. One of my stocks, that was Sequent, it's up 55%. I just had a look. So from 82 all the way to 130. So there has to be a correction, and there is no one way move that ever comes into the market, and that is why making money in the market is extremely tough, and making big money is even tougher. So at the moment, what I feel is that August and probably some part of September could be very volatile, and we could see massive falls. I mean, we could see volatile falls and then recoveries in the market. So a smooth sailing uptrend may begin in the second half of September and in early October, and then from there on in all sectors, including the export oriented sectors, because there is a thought that the export oriented sectors are now out of the way and you cannot think of them doing that well. But I believe that IT, pharma, chemicals, textiles, etc., they will come back into fashion once things normalizes in Europe, especially UK, and then in the Americas, and that will happen. I mean, it will take time, but that will happen. It's not that always the global economic situation will remain the same, etc. We have a situation in which the oil prices are now below 100, closer to 96. Even if it is because of the recessionary phase, I think it's even better for we as investors if it is because of the recessionary phase, because then the US Fed may end up hiking only 25 basis point twice if things really go out of hand. And then eventually from June onwards, I think everyone on the street is expecting rate cuts from early June or probably even April next year. So it could be a difficult 2 months, but since the market prices in everything early, we could see a big rally from October onwards, especially in festive oriented stocks that I have always talked about. So that is about the market. And now, how far down we can go from here, or we could be going from down from here, I don't know, but there is a possibility we could go to 16,500 at least from here, and then we will take it from there. I would not be surprised if we go all the way below 16,000 over a period of next 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see what happens. But that is about the market. Stock specific moves are always taking place, and that is happening. Many of the small cap stocks are moving up, many of the mid cap stocks are moving down and up simultaneously depending on the results. Many of the stocks are not moving at all. You look at IT, I mean, stocks in IT are either moving down or not moving at all, consolidating. Now, that gives me confidence that in see, simple thing is in the market, it's all about the game is always about greed and fear. And if your company is doing decently well, then compared to the industry, then you would be in a situation where the stock will perform. We have seen that with Sequent, we have seen that with many other stocks. I don't want to name many stocks, but there are many stocks which were down and out and have recovered 50 to 70%. They could very well go down, say 20-30%, but eventually speaking, we could be doing extremely well. We could be in a situation where our stocks end up making money for us from a uh, 2 years perspective. This all discussion that I'm doing is from a 2 years perspective. Hi Buchi Babu, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for all the support through YouTube and Patreon. Hello Priya, I hope you're doing well. Ganesh, hi. So that is about the markets. About the topic that I wanted to discuss, so about averaging your positions. And I'm giving, since I've been talking about Sequent, and since this is one of the stocks that has been down, I'm sorry, this is one of the stocks that has been down 80% from the top of 330. Then it's better to talk about this. So uh, once you buy into some story, and I think of any stock as a story from a 2 to 3 year perspective, then there are always ups and downs, there are always volatile moves in that story or in that stock. So what you need to do is analyze as to how much loss you can take, analyze as to how much fall the stock could have, and then take a position and analyze as to how much you can say value the stock has. So in case of Sequent per se, at around 82, so it went from 330 to 82, that was a 70% fall. Now the thing is, from here on in, it could very well go down another 10-20%, but you have to look at numbers, etc. Now supposedly, if the numbers are good, if there are issues with the particular country, for example in Sequent there are issues with Turkey and there are issues with other parts of Europe, and that is probably why the numbers are not coming in or kicking in. So if you know that, and you know that that could go away in about 6 months or so, then overall, I mean, you have to then think of averaging. You have bought, say, a sequence, say you have bought at 220 and the stock kept falling, you have been holding on to it, you believe it could hit new highs over the next 2 to 3 years, and then the stock has gone to 100. So where one should average, where should one end up averaging the stock? So basically you average a stock after 35 to 40% fall or an up move. So if you have bought at 220, you would probably average that stock at around 140 rupees. That's around 80 rupees lower from those levels. So you average at 140 and then another 40% lower from there, which ends up being actually around 93, 94. You buy more at 93, 94. So that's how you average, because when you buy something 35, 40% from its previous buy price, whether up or down, then your average works out well. So if you had bought, say, at something like 220 and then you end up buying at 140, then your average price would have gone down to as low as 180, or depending on your position, suppose you have bought big at 140 rather than 220, then your average would have come down even further to around 170, 165. If you don't do that, if you average, say you buy at 220, you buy at 190, it won't help, because the stock may just be in a downtrend and may just continue to fall even further, or the stock may just end up being in consolidation for 6-8 months, and it will not help in that manner also. Your averaging should help you have an average price, that is, if you're buying down or lower, then it should be as low as possible, so that your average price should come down by at least 20 to 30%. So if your average price comes from 220 to 170, that's around 23-24% decline from your previous buy price. So that is what you need to do. If you have bought a 220 for a stock, say any stock, and the stock is at 190, 180, just don't do anything. Wait for it to either go to 160, 150, or for it to probably move higher to 280, 290 to buy into. So that is probably the best way of averaging. A second way of averaging that I really use big time is to buy in 5 or 6 tranches with a 20% or a 10% move in that manner in a particular stock. That is also one of the way of buying. But I think if you want to average in bulk, then the best way to do that is probably by buying 30-40% lower or on a 30-40% up move. Then also, if you buy up, so for example you bought at 220, the stock goes to 300, you buy more, then your average is around 260 if you buy the same quantity. So even if your average is 260, you're making a decent amount of money, 15-17% on your average price. So that's the call on averaging. Now I'm ready to answer your queries. Kindly use the super chat, super sticker feature that will help me grow the channel. That will help you also ask me questions and eke out answers in greater detail. So one of the queries is coming from Priya. So Tanla, I believe you average Tanla once the numbers really come in. Uh, if you really believe in the company that okay, it's going to do extremely well for the next 8-10 quarters, then yes, I think these are good levels to average depending on when you have bought. If you have bought, say, at 800, 850, then yes, you can average around below 600. If you have bought at 1000, yes, you can average at 700. If you have bought at 1500, average around here 700-800 or so. All right. See, Berger Paint is good, but I would always prefer Asian Paints. A disclaimer, I have my positions there, but I have always talked about it even when I didn't had the positions in Asian Paints. You buy the best in the business, simple as that. In any industry, you buy the best in the business and you'll do well. Berger wait for declines in the market to buy. Asian, again, you buy at Asian Paints around 3000, 3050, good levels to buy it. Okay. I think you're asking Buchi Babu about SHIL, not HHIL, but SHIL. Uh, so you're saying Hindware, okay, Hindware Home. So I recognize it as SHIL. Very good company. Target 1200 time frame. I think 3 to 4 years, maybe earlier than that. I believe it should do well. Uh, but when, I don't know. But the company, the stock is very reasonably priced at the moment to hold on to. So Agarwal Industries is something I have made video on a few months back. It looked extremely attractive. It didn't look a stock that looked like just also rans. A very decent company. You can buy at these levels if you have the money. If you have a 2 3 year time frame, it can go to 14 1500 over that period. Yes, I know a major investor has bought into it, and probably that's why the query has come in. But the company, the business per se, in that regard is pretty decent. Okay, what else? So this is basically what I wanted to discuss. Another thing I want to state here is that whatever I talk about, it's not for very short term. For very short term, say in 1 week time or something like that, I think that the market could go up. It is a fact that market may not fall, market could go up. But from a 2 3 months perspective, I talk about as to where the market might be headed, and you might get better prices. But when I talk about buying a particular company, kindly do take advice of your financial advisor. But whenever I talk about buying or selling a particular company, I take into effect a next 1.5 2 years perspective. Well, Sushant, absolutely. It can touch 17,900, 18,000, but over the next 2 months, we could see 16,000 as well. So that is my point, basically. So it's better to book profits in this move rather than thinking that the big downside is not possible. I believe there's one more round of heavy selling that is possible. Reasons we'll know later on, and then the market will move up gradually, and there will be very shallow declines. So that's the call. Okay. Chauffeur is good. Chauffeur is good. GMM Pfaudler has come out with good numbers, but it is an expensive stock. It's not very cheap. So I think Chauffeur India, and I think Auto Ancillary should end up performing pretty well. I believe Auto Ancillary would be something to look at. Many stocks in there. I have talked about a number of stocks on many of my videos. You can probably watch that. But I think Auto Ancillaries this time around, over the next 1.5 years, by the end of 2023, should be doing extremely well. All right. So Map My India, I believe for long term is pretty good. You can accumulate, but by long term, I mean 4 5 years at least, rather than from a 1 year perspective. All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being online. Please like and subscribe my channel. Hit the bell icon so you can get my videos straight away when I post it. Kindly support me on Patreon. Thanks a lot.